Ahmed Hussein al-Shar, Arabic, Arabic letter Aleph with Hamza above, Arabic letter Ha, Arabic letter Mim, Arabic letter Dal, Arabic letter Ha, Arabic letter Sin, Arabic letter Ye, Arabic letter Nun, Arabic letter Aleph, Arabic letter Lam, Arabic letter Sheen, Arabic letter Ra, Arabic letter Ain, Romanized, modifier letter right half ring Ahmed Hussein as-Sar, modifier letter left half ring, known by the nom de guerre Abu Mohammad al Julani, Arabic, Arabic letter Aleph with Hamza above, Arabic letter B, Arabic letter Wa, Arabic letter Mim, Arabic letter Ha, Arabic letter Mim, Arabic letter Dal, Arabic letter Aleph, Arabic letter Lam, Arabic letter Jim, Arabic letter Wa, Arabic letter Lam, Arabic letter Aleph, Arabic letter Nun, Arabic letter Ye, Romanized, modifier letter right half ring Abu Muhammad al Julani, is the commander-in-chief of the Syrian militant group Tahrir al-Shem. He was also the emir of its predecessor organization al-Nusra Front, the Syrian branch of al-Qaeda. The U.S. State Department listed al-Julani as a specially designated global terrorist in May 2013, and 4 years later announced a $10 million reward for information leading to his capture. As of February 2021, the bounty remains in force. The Nisba al-Julani in his nom de guerre is a reference to Syria's Golan Heights, partially occupied and annexed by Israel during the war in 1967. Al-Julani released an audio statement on the 28th of September 2014, in which he stated he would fight the United States and its allies and urged his fighters not to accept help from the West in their battle against ISIL. Biography. Early life and Iraq War. Once al-Julani moved to Iraq to fight American troops after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, he quickly rose through the ranks of al-Qaeda in Iraq, and reportedly was a close associate of its leader, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. After al-Zarqawi was killed by a U.S. airstrike in 2006, al-Julani left Iraq, briefly staying in Lebanon, where he offered logistical support for the Jund al-Shem militant group. He returned to Iraq to continue fighting but was arrested by the U.S. military and held at Camp Bucca. At that camp, where the U.S. military held tens of thousands of suspected militants, he taught classical Arabic to other prisoners. After his release from Camp Bucca prison in 2008, al-Julani resumed his militant work, this time alongside Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the head of the then Islamic State of Iraq, ISI. He was soon appointed head of ISI operations in Nineveh Governorate. Syrian Civil War. Syrian uprising and foundation of al-Nusra. Shortly after the uprising against the government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad began in 2011, al-Julani played a lead role in planning and enacting the mission, as part of Islamic State of Iraq, to move into Syria and form a sub-branch of the organization called Jabhat al-Nusra. This group was to act as a front for the Islamic State of Iraq, led by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, to whom he had his allegiance and whose command he was under. Al-Julani's formation of Jabhat al-Nusra was facilitated by men, arms and money given to him by the ISI under the orders of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. It is disputed whether al-Julani originally formulated the plan or if it came from another leader in Islamic State of Iraq. Julani was declared the General Emir of al-Nusra, which was first announced in January 2012. By December 2012, the U.S. Department of State declared Jabhat al-Nusra to be an officially designated terrorist organization, noting that it was simply a new alias for al-Qaeda in Iraq, aka Islamic State of Iraq. Under al-Julani's leadership, Nusra grew into one of the most powerful rebel groups in Syria. Rise of ISIL. Al-Julani gained prominence in April 2013, when he refused al-Baghdadi's attempt to liquidate al-Nusra as a subgroup and incorporate it directly into ISI, under the name of Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL. This move would have removed all local autonomy of Jabhat al-Nusra and placed all leaders, decisions, and actions directly under the control of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. In order to avoid losing autonomy and the individual identity of Jabhat al-Nusra, al-Julani directly pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda's leader Ayman al-Zawahiri, who supported al-Julani's request to break away his group as an independent entity. Although prior to this point al-Nusra already had sworn allegiance to al-Qaeda through Islamic State of Iraq, now it bypassed the latter and became a direct subsidiary of the former. This change in the chain of allegiance made al-Nusra directly al-Qaeda's official Syrian branch. Despite his own oath of allegiance to Ayman al-Zawahiri, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi rejected his ruling and declared that the consolidation of the two organizations was going ahead. Clashes ensued between al-Nusra Front and ISIL for control of Syrian territory. Despite some friction with members of the mainstream Free Syrian Army rebel umbrella group, al-Julani's Jabhat al-Nusra often worked together against the Syrian army in opposition-held areas. The group is more popular in Syria than ISIL, which is largely made up of foreign fighters and has been criticized for its brutality and for trying to impose a strict version of Islamic law in areas under its control. Al-Nusra, by contrast, is made up mostly of Syrians, many of whom fought American forces in Iraq. Resurgence of al-Nusra in late May 2015. During the Syrian civil war, al-Julani was interviewed by Ahmed Mansour on Qatari news broadcaster Al Jazeera, hiding his face. He described the Geneva Peace Conference as a farce and claimed that the Western-backed Syrian National Coalition did not represent the Syrian people and had no ground presence in Syria. Al-Julani mentioned that al-Nusra have no plans for attacking Western targets, and that their priority is focused on fighting the Syrian regime, Hezbollah, and the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Al-Julani is credited with saying that the Nusra Front doesn't have any plans or directives to target the West. We received clear orders from Ayman al-Zawahiri not to use Syria as a launching pad to attack the US or Europe in order to not sabotage the true mission against the regime. Maybe al-Qaeda does that, but not here in Syria. Assad forces are fighting us on one end, Hezbollah on another and ISIL on a third front. It is all about their mutual interests. When asked about al-Nusra's plans for a post-war Syria, al-Julani stated that after the war ended, all factions in the country would be consulted before anyone considered establishing an Islamic State. He also mentioned that al-Nusra would not target the country's Alawite Muslim minority, despite their support for the Assad regime. Our war is not a matter of revenge against the Alawites despite the fact that in Islam, they are considered to be heretics. A commentary on this interview however states that al-Julani also added that Alawites would be left alone as long as they abandon elements of their faith which contradict Islam. On August 18, he received the support of Hamza bin Laden, son of Osama bin Laden, in a video message produced by the al-Qaeda's network, Al-Sahab Media. In October 2015, al-Julani called for indiscriminate attacks on Alawite villages in Syria. He said, "There is no choice but to escalate the battle and to target Alawite towns and villages in Latakia." Al-Julani also called for Russian civilians to be attacked by former Soviet Muslims. On the 28th of July 2016, al-Julani announced in a recorded message that Jabhat al-Nusra would henceforth go under the new name of Jabhat Fatah al-Shem, Front for the Conquest of Syria. As part of the announcement, al-Julani stated that the rebranded group has no affiliation to any external entity. While some analysts have interpreted this to mean breaking away from al-Qaeda, the group was not specifically mentioned in the announcement, and al-Julani did not renounce his oath of allegiance to Ayman al-Zawahiri. Rebranding of al-Nusra. On January 28, 2017, Julani announced that Jabhat al-Nusra would dissolve and be subsumed into a new, larger Syrian Islamist group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, Assembly for the Liberation of the Levant. The group currently controls nearly all of the Idlib Governorate, under the governance of the HDS-aligned Syrian Salvation Government. In the summer of 2020, al-Julani made frequent public appearances around Idlib in an attempt to gain support from the population. Video output by HDS-affiliated media increased significantly throughout mid-2020. multiple videos being published daily, showing governance videos, distribution of taxations in rural villages, frontline videos, and Julani meeting with local militia groups. Documentary on June 1, 2021. Frontline PBS has released a documentary, The Jihadist, in which al Julani's past is investigated in a context of the ongoing Syria civil war. Family: al Julani has 4 brothers and 2 sisters. He was the 4th born in the family. See also list of fugitives from justice who disappeared. References. External links: Abu Muhammad al Julani Counter-Extremism Project Profile.